What's good, YouTube? It's me, your boy Scotty, back in with another video. So I just want to do a quick little recap on the Card Merchant 10Ks tournament that was held online on Dealing Book over the course of this weekend. So on Friday and Saturday, was able to play in this, and it was a lot of fun. Actually, it's one of the most well-run online tournaments I've ever experienced. It was a lot of fun. The Card Merchant people were very generous. They were very generous with giveaways throughout the course of the tournament, between the rounds on the stream, and then they also gave out a whopping 3 cases to the winner, 1 case to the second place, and then 3 boxes top 8, 2 boxes top 16, and then 1 box for top 32. So I actually finished in top 32. There were 103 players in total, and it was post Cyberstorm access, so we had a lot of new support cards come out. I ended up playing Kashtira just because I feel like the deck is still by and far the best deck after even Super Heavy Samurai, after Purelies are released. Basically, in the OCG, this deck only has 1 Unicorn, 1 Field Spell, and 1 Fenner, and still among the top 3 decks behind Purely and Super Heavy Samurai. So needless to say, I think in TCG, it's probably just the best deck, and we don't have Max C in the format. And on top of that, this deck allows you to lock the Pendulum Zones versus Super Heavy Samurai, which half the time is just game because they're not able to scale their Wakeushi and do their full combo that they would normally would. So yeah, the deck worked really well. I just really quickly want to go over it, and we can also take a look at my top 32 match. I lost to a Math Mech, unfortunately. I lost to Dairo, and then my deck was built pretty bad to play against that matchup. We don't have any Ghost Spells or anything like that, so yeah, the deck was just it worked well, though. I'm really happy with it. We did main deck Shifter. I just figured that a lot of people would be playing Purely and Super Heavy Samurai because people just like experimenting with new stuff. But that was a mistake because like nearly everyone was playing Kashtira. I think I played basically all Kashtira mirrors in the Swiss rounds, or 7 Swiss rounds, except for 1 Purely, 1 Math Mech in the top cut, and then also I think there's 1 Dragon Link I played as well. And I'm pretty sure that's, oh, and 1 Super Heavy Samurai, the guy who ended up winning, who I actually beat in the last round, but there were a lot of X3s that actually made it as well. So he actually went X3 and then won out through the top cut, which is really impressive. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. Droll Knockbird was everywhere. So everyone's main decking this card. It's really good. And just being able to stop the Super Heavy Samurai from playing, it's decent against the Kashtira as well, and it's also decent against Purely. They can obviously do a lot of their stuff in draw phase, but at some point in time, they're probably going to have to add with their card effects during the main phase and whatnot. So I still decided to play this, and I also got Drolled a lot, guys. So make sure you're playing around Droll. Make sure you're using your monster effects before you activate something like a field spell. It also makes things like terraforming a lot worse. It's just, I guess, the nature of the, well, you just like being able to Droll after you add a field spell is just the nature of what the card does. So it kind of hurts a lot, or something off of pot. And then also just like cut down on lands. I don't think it's as good as more. Not everyone's playing a lot of spell and trap removal anymore like it was at the beginning of the format, where people are just like main decking books, playing Book of Eclipse and every other deck. But nowadays, like, people are more relying on their monster effects, things like Karakura, the Kaijus as well, because there's a lot of crossover with the Purely deck, and also a little bit against Super Heavy Samurai. People are playing Santa Claus as well on Purely, so they can swing over it and make Zeus. So it'll probably be something that can become moving forward. I would imagine the ban list probably hits this card, probably hits this deck pretty decently hard, but I still think it'll be a good contender. But I don't know if Lance will still be a staple moving forward, because it's just not as good now that people are trending towards monster removal that can deal with a variety of crossover between the matchups. And then Pot of Desires is not that good because, again, Droll, like, also on top of the chances of opening multiple pots, and then you can also get Drolled, so Pot of Desires is just a dead card in your hand. I didn't really like that a lot, and it wasn't really great in the mirror match as well. I was breaking a lot with it, like banishing multiple Fenrirs, banishing monsters in the mirror match, so it just didn't perform as well. And then 1 Tactics. This card was actually really good. Anytime I resolved it, being able to rip your opponent's hand when you get Drolled or steal a monster was just insane. So I think this card should definitely be played in multiples. The reason I only played 1 is because I wanted to keep it at 40, and adding the Droll Birds, I needed some space. And then also side deck Thrust, so I figured that Talent would be a good one-of to have in order to search off Thrust. So I definitely think that should be played in multiples. And then side deck's fairly generic, just a bunch of spell and trap removal. Played 2 of everything. Econ's good in the mirror match. We cut these in the main deck for the shifters. And then Magic Deflector I figured would be good against Purely, Runic, and then potentially in the mirror match as well if they force you to go first. And Thrust was the only card I could think of that could kind of punish the Pureleys, because they do use their effect during the standby phase to draw when they have Purely Sleepy Memory. Sometimes they have multiples underneath their monsters, so they can draw 2 cards. And then being able to thrust into Herald the Abyss, which is a non-targeting card that forces your opponent to send a monster of your choosing based on the monster type and the attribute to the graveyard by paying 1,500 life points means that you're able to send X purely Nor, and the fact that it doesn't affect the monster affects the player, so they're forced to send it. And also, they do not trigger the effect of My Friend Purely because it is not an effect that is taking care of the monster. Rather, it's forcing the player to remove that monster. So it's kind of a nice option. The only caveat is, unfortunately, it is once per turn. So I figured it would just pair well with Thrust as an option that you can search. And then extra deck's really standard, so we don't really need to talk about that. But I still think this deck is still the best deck after the ban list, or after the new set, if there's no ban list, because of the options that you have. Everything's at full power. You can kind of tutor your deck and play non-engine based on what the metagame is and adapt your deck to it. And then being able to lock the pendulum zones against super heavy samurai is just game a lot of the times. Okay, let's quickly take a look at the replay of the top 32. I'm just going to refresh this here that I played against MathMech. Unfortunately lost the Dairo and did not play Bell, which I definitely should have played. So yeah, let's quickly go into this. Game 1, he wins the Dairo. He has a standard MathMech hand, all engine, so no non-engine, which is a pretty good sign. I have the Drill Mockbird as well, which is decent against this deck because you're able to use it after they add off Circular, so it's effectively, at least you're getting out of value out of it. You're getting at least a 1-for-1 trade. It's acting almost like an infinite impermanence because they're not going to be able to add with their Alimbertion. So he's going to add Super Factorio. I'm going to draw here. And they can still make the Super Factorio live depending on if they have an extender that's a MathMech name, which he does. He has a Nabla, so he uses it as normal summon, tributes it to summon the Diameter. And then from here, it just makes Diameter live. Draw is quite good. If they don't have the extender, then they're not able to get access to Diameter. It means they don't have a negate on the body when they do flip Super Factorio on your turn, which is a big deal. So they're still able to kind of go into Splash Mage, Heat Soul here, and then draw a card on my turn. So it's not like the end of the world. But obviously, like if this draw came in clutch, I would just win with my hand. But then, unfortunately, he does draw a Drone Lockbird here. So I do kind of make a misplay here, I think, by activating the field spell first. Rather, I should have done is Special Summon Unicorn, and then he would have flipped Super Factorio, be forced to do that and get rid of the Unicorn. And then I could have activated one of the 2 field spells in my hand, added a Fenrir, and then dealt with both monsters. I would probably have to trade off my Book of Moon because his monster still had a negate, and then take care of both monsters. But I do kind of play a little bit bad here into the draw, and then I'm kind of at a bad spot because here he doesn't have to flip up Super Factorio anymore because I can't use the effect because I'm under draw. So I kind of have to burn my battle phase here to force him to flip that up. And he actually lets this attack go through, which is a good heads up play, I guess, on his part, because then I can't effectively set anything because he could just take care of it with the trap monster, but then I'll obviously banish the Lapilation, so that can't happen. I'm going to set this in the same column just to bluff into Imperm, because why not? There's really no reason not to do that at this point. He draws Ghost Ogre. He's going to flip up Super Factorio. So here, he's going to make the Alimbertion to be able to search. And I could have booked here. He would have negated, and then I would have had the Unicorn to be able to take the update jammer. So maybe that was a potential line, but I decided to let it go through. Use the effect of Unicorn to try and take care of that update jammer so he can't go for game, but he negates. And then I just have the Book of Moon. So it's a little bit bad because obviously he has a lot of extenders. This MathMech deck just plays a billion extenders. He hasn't used his normal summon as well. So I don't think it would have mattered in the long run, even if I did do that line. And even if I did play through draw on the previous turn, I would have had just a Fenrir as a defense, which obviously wouldn't have been enough. They can still access code and OTK. So it summons Firewall Dispenser. This is kind of cool. It's an OCG tech. Effectively, when this is sent to the graveyard as a Link monster, you can summon 1 Firewall from your deck, except itself, and you lock yourself in the Cyber. So it's pretty cool. It's kind of like a free extender, and then that's going to summon itself. It's nice because I'm pretty sure you can also use this to... I don't know if there's a Link 1 that you can go to. Anyways, they summon Firewall Phantom. I guess this is a brick because it's level 5. But if it's in the graveyard, you can add a Signet Spell Trap. So you can either add Signet Mining, or you can also add the Trap card, which I think he does play. It's like an Omni Negate when you control a Code Talker monster on the field. So then he's just going to go Addition and then just link up into his plays, and that's just game with the Update Jammer. So yeah, not much I can really do there. Signet Conflict. Yeah, that's the one that negates. It's an Omni Negate. And then it also banishes a card that negates, and your opponent cannot activate cards or the effects for the rest of the turn. So it's pretty good. We're going to go to game 2. So yeah, this game is fairly straightforward. I kind of opened decent. Going to go Fenrir effect, just try and search Unicorn. He has Ash and Droll, so telegraphing the Droll there by thinking or the Ash rather. Gonna get drolled. Gonna still go, well, I didn't see the droll, so I activated Birth a little early. But gonna go ahead and Tactics, rip out that Circular from his hand because it's the only starter he has. I don't really care about the rest of the cards. Dark Ruler, Mathematic Equation, that's fine. Ash Blossom. Unicorn, I decided to just set. I could have just gone into the Diablosis and ripped a card and then special back Fenrir. But I figured this was a little better. He has to deal with both monsters. And even if he does draw a Circular, like I have the Fenrir banished, and he has to deal with Unicorn Rip as well. So he, I guess, draws a brick, and then we go to game 3. So yeah, fairly straightforward match here. His hand is pretty broken. I mean, he's a Gamma, Ash Blossom, Circular, Addition, and Super Factorial. Gonna go ahead and Circular, obviously, which is fine. Summons out Circular, summons out the Sigma. Gonna use the effect. He deliberates, I guess, to use the effect or not, whether he wants to add, but I don't see why you wouldn't. Okay, adds the equation, telegraphing he already has Super Factorial. Gonna draw here, which doesn't really do anything besides shut off his Alimbertion, which is fine. He's still gonna use Alimbertion here to just get the bodies in graveyard. Gonna link that off. Gonna make a Splash Mage here. Splash Mage is gonna bring back a monster so he can do the Heat Soul play again. So just gonna go to Heat Spell. My hand's kind of bad because it's all engine. There's no non-engine besides that Drone Lockbird. He's gonna set the Super Factorial, and this is actually pretty decent. He has Ash as well, so he has 3 interrupts, or 2 interrupts, potentially 3 if you draw something off of the Heat Soul rather. So we're just gonna go draw a card. So here I draw the Ash Blossom. I think for a bit, and I decide to actually Ash Blossom just because of how bad my hand is. It seems like a hideous play, but like the hand is so bad, guys. Like we have to push through Super Factorial and potentially any other hand trap in their hand. So it's like we really don't want them to draw into another disruption at this point. So it's like, what else are you gonna Ash, right? The only thing you can probably Ash on the following turn is if they happen to top deck like a Silent Mining or something. We know they don't have it because they didn't really use it previously. Like maybe they were playing around Drone Lockbird, so they might have it, but the chances are rather slim. So I'm just gonna Ash here so it doesn't draw into potential hand trap. Bit of a rough hand here. He's deliberating. If he ashes, which is hurts a lot. So we're going to summon this Rise Heart and try to push through Kashtira. Unfortunately, he does turn out to have Super Factorial, so that's just game. He's just going to overlay, send the Rise Heart, send a card from my hand, and on the following turn, just OTK me. So yeah, it's a little unfortunate. Having non-engine is really crucial against decks like this. Having like a Ghost Bow to be able to negate the Super Factorial would have been really nice. So yeah, that was about it. I want to show you guys really quickly. The tournament was run really well. If you guys have any thoughts or comments about Kashtira and what they might do in the following format, just let me know in the comments below. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.